All right. Good afternoon, everybody, or good morning or good evening, depending on where you're joining us from. If this is your first time joining us, my name is Sean Tavalia. I'm a professor of geology and academic chair for physical sciences at Suffolk County Community College. I'm also a founding member of the board of Hamptons Observatory. So on behalf of Hamptons Observatory, Suffolk County Community College, and the National Science Foundation, welcome. Today's speaker, we'll get right to things, is the inventor of the WindSled and the founding director of North Greenland WindSled Expeditions. He specializes in traditional Inuit travel and survival techniques, and during his 30-year career, he has led more than 20 of the most significant polar expeditions and has made over 100 trips to polar regions. This is not counting the expedition he will be leading later this year. One of his most renowned trips was the circumpolar expedition, during which he traveled nearly 14,000 kilometers by dog sled, kayak, and other non-motorized means from Greenland to Alaska across the Northwest Passage. If you're interested in reading more about that, look up the January 1995 edition of National Geographic's Global Edition. He has lived more than 8 years in the Arctic and currently resides between Greenland and Spain, where he joins us from today. So please join me in welcoming Ramon Larramendi. Ramon, it's all yours.
Okay, thank you very much for the introduction, Sin, and that's a pleasure to be back again with you and with Hampton to present further developments of the project. I'm going to speak. The presentation will be separated like in two parts. One will be an overview. I will go again through the WindSled project. I imagine that maybe there is somebody who has already know about the WindSled project, but maybe most of the people don't. And then I will go first about the history of the WindSled project, and then we'll get really into the North Greenland WindSled expeditions. And the WindSled project started really making one simple question. The interior of Greenland and of Antarctica is a sea of ice. Well, why not to sail over the ices of these huge expanses of huge glaciers, no? That's like a logical question, a normal question that many people, of course, have made that question before me. Starting by Fridtjof Nansen with this photography is made up in 1888 when he tried to put some winds into his sleds in the first crossing of Greenland. And many other people has been thinking how to use the wind to go over the ice. That's a picture from Scott in his ill-fated expedition. And that was the question, was not an original question. But the answer, when I started thinking about that, still there was not an answer about how sailing, about how solving. Before really getting into the wisdom, I would like, even if Sen has talked very briefly about the circumpolar expedition, I just wanted to make a very short notice about this trip that I took almost 35 years ago, and this is really it's a central project. Without that one, it's not possible to understand the WindSled project and the North Greenland WindSled expedition. No? I had the huge opportunity when I was pretty young, 24-year-old, to undertake this 3-year expedition across the Arctic, where I really got an absolute introduction to the Inuit world, to the Arctic world, to the Inuit survival, the Inuit philosophy, the Inuit mind, I could say, and really how to get through in these extremely tough conditions. No, as I visit most of the small Inuit communities in the world, and I really got a lot of time to talk to many people, to learn, to travel with, and to share a huge amount of experiences. I can say that I really learned, that was like a huge introduction about this Inuit understanding of the survival and about really life in the Arctic, no? And of course, that's key for the Inuit WindSled project. Without this experience, it would be absolutely impossible to understand the project and how really I got to the project. And with this short introduction, started the question of the WindSled is how to sail over the ice. And of course, people is thinking in technology, is thinking in a catamaran, is thinking in Kevlar, is thinking, most of people is thinking that way. Of course, after 14,000 kilometers Inuit style in the Arctic. I was thinking in Inuit sleds. I was thinking in a different coordinates that what everybody I talked to. And of course, there was something that were in common, that you need the force of the wind, and the kites were the most logical system to really propel the sled, whatever was the sled in itself, because of course it's a huge force. It has been developed, and that is an incredible source of power and of energy. Referring to the sled, of course, there was I had very clear that the basic Inuit concept of building a sled was absolutely far superior than the most modern catamaran, Kevlar, whatever technological system, because of many conceptual parts, was absolutely superior. And even if I talked to many people, to many engineers, and of course people was totally dismissing about this possibility, because people was thinking totally only in technology. But I got clear that the option was really to take the Inuit concepts, and then create this modified Inuit sled that could be the core of the Inuit WindSled project, not to create an sled modified to create a platform, an articulated platform that can sail and that really become the boat, but that is very flexible, is very easy to repair, and is extremely strong. And nothing happens if one of these pieces really break. And of course, the third part was how to, like in a sailing boat, how to live in this traverse when you're traveling. And then, of course, we put the idea of putting a tent on top of the sled, something that is very commonly done also especially in Greenland. Everybody sleeps over the sleds, and that's a very also Inuit idea, not to put the tent over the sled. But of course, we just use Western tents. Of this very simple linking of different concepts, half technology, half Inuit tradition, became the idea of the Inuit WindSled, that is in the most simple sleds that we built in the first year. With this very simple concept, we started developing and made 4 crossings of Greenland in a very light and efficient system between 2000 and 2003, and where I already saw the incredible potential of this special concept. And with that, it was time to reach make the biggest challenge. That was the first crossing, the first navigation across Antarctica, across the Antarctic continent, that took place in 2005, 2006, where with the WindSled idea, we managed, a team of 3 people, we managed to cross the Antarctic continent, make the first ever navigation across Antarctica, 4,500 kilometers in 62 days. And we really prove that the big potential of the WindSled. We proved the big potential of the WindSled. And then after this expedition, started the second part of the project. We made that only for exploration of challenge and this way, but talking with some scientists, they told us about the potential of the WindSled for scientific research, for clean scientific research, and then started the Acciona Wind Power Antarctica, a second crossing of Antarctica, when the first scientists took over and took part in the expedition, and we crossed Antarctica through another road, getting by the first time in the South Pole, and making a very fast and efficient crossing of Antarctica with this very same concept, a little bit bigger than the one before. And for this scientific use, of course, as opposite to the exploration part, we saw that the key was to increase the size of the sled to be much more performance, and to have and to be much more have much more capacity in order to have much more scientific work on board, scientific payload, and people on board. for that, the next step in the WindSled process was the circumnavigation of Greenland in 2014. There are some changes. You can see that there is a new tent on board. There are now 3 sleds. It's getting a little bit bigger. We're 5 people on board, where we managed to make the first circumnavigation of the Greenland ice cap, making more than 4,000 kilometers with the WindSled, in one of the biggest challenge of the WindSled, and certainly the biggest challenge, geographical challenge in Greenland, even if we were doing also a lot of scientific work. After that came the testing of the increase of the size of the sled. We got the Iceland Summit expedition, getting 4 sleds, 6 people on board, more than 2,000 kilos on board, all the time increasing. We make a small circumnavigation of the Greenland ice cap by the center, reaching summit, the highest point in the in the plateau. That was a little difficult because, of course, the difficulties with the wind. And after that, we really planned the first the Green Expedition Greenland Ice River 2017. That was like a really scientific WindSled expedition in the Arctic. No, you can see here very well how is the structure of the sled. There are 4 sleds. It's one for sleeping, for living. The rear part, the front part is like the navigation, the piloting, the cabin, and also there is an office and a workshop. The second sled is for science. The third sled is for cargo, no? And then the concept was like pretty clear. In this expedition, in which it took part Jens Jacob Simonsen, that actually will be companion of the new 2024 expedition that I will present very shortly. We went to the scientific station in East Grip. We make a different road. Of course, after those years, the concept was very clear. As an articulated platform made of a convoy of sleds that could accommodate people and could accommodate at least 6 people on board, and that got a big capacity. It was very resistant, very tough concept that was propelled by kites. We started having the kites 40 meters from the sled. Finally, we got the kite 350 meters from the sled, a much bigger kite, and all the system could be kept in a very small space. It could fit into a plane, in fact, and you could deploy on the ice, and it was logistically extremely efficient, no? And the general concept was finished. After that was the opportunity to present into the Antarctic world, into the COMNAP, the Committee for National Antarctic Programs, and to present this concept and the potential for exploration in Antarctica, presenting exactly the core points of the WindSled from the ecological point of view. Simply cannot be improved for traversing Antarctica in a vehicle. Is simply, I would dare to say that is impossible to make something more sustainable and more ecological than the WindSled, not only for being zero emission when you're traveling, because of all the materials used, the logistics to get the equipment to the starting point, and then also the logistic simplicity, that is a very important point in all polar exploration or polar expeditions. Of course, is taken to the most simple, absolutely possible, that you can really the maximum simplification of the logistics from the economical point of view is something simple, reliable, simple, and really extremely cost effective, that also cannot be compared with any other system that can be used in the polar regions. Reliable because it's so basic and so tough that is really extremely reliable. Of course, when you are in the middle of Greenland or in the middle of Antarctica, you want to have a system that you really can fix by yourself, that you are not dependent of extremely sophisticated, or you want to have the less, to be the most basic system is one of the keys of the survival. And from that point of view, also it's very reliable, and also it's versatile, because you can use the sled, you can create several different sleds, you can separate in different teams, has a lot of potential, no? That was the idea that I presented, in comparison that with the existing system to explore vehicles to explore the interior of really of Greenland and Antarctica. That can be the rat trucks, the really big convoys. It can be the Toyota, modified Toyota with gasoline that actually are quite efficient, but of course they got the fuel limitations, big fuel limitations, and for many regions you can go with a plane, little plane, twin otter to land on the ice, or you can go with snowmobile. And the WindSled, this is simply another full different concept. And of course, the only one existing in the world that is totally zero emission. No? And after that, we presented the next step of the WindSled expedition was to make the first scientific expedition in Antarctica. And we have done already 2 crossings of Antarctica, and then we make this expedition and explored Antarctica in 1819, when we make a challenge, geographical and technical also. Geographical because we wanted to go and come back to one of the highest point in Antarctica, that's Don Fuji, and that was kind of very difficult wind-wise. And we managed to make this long traverse, taking on board 10 different projects in Antarctica, 10 different scientific projects. And of course, in Antarctica, that the conditions are more difficult than in Greenland because there are sastrugis and there is a lot of rough ice really there that is more difficult. We went with this concept, with this configuration of the sled, that is 3 sleds. In total will be 11, 12 meter sleds. The total amount, we were 4 people, we were almost 2,000 kilos of payload, 1,900, 2,000 kilos, and we were testing really the biggest kites ever, up to 150 square meters. And expedition went pretty well, and we were able to carry out these 10 different projects. And those are just some pictures of this last big expedition over Antarctica, that you can see very well the concept. We were 4 people on board. We were just 4 people on board of the sled. In Greenland, we have been going up to 6 people on board. We were making some satellite calibration for the European Space Agency. We're testing some sensors that were later deployed actually in the Mars 2020 mission, and making some shallow coring with the Climate Change Institute, Professor Majewski in the University of Maine, and many others projects. We were in total of different complexity, but in total were 10 projects. After that, we make a symposium actually about putting together with other researchers that have taken place in the WindSled project about the potential of the WindSled and what were the steps ahead for the Inuit WindSled project. And I did present there that I thought that the maximum capacity of in each area in Antarctica, there's different capacities than in Greenland, that the maximum capacity of the WindSled will be something like to have almost 2,300 kilos, 5 people on board, and capable of really crossing Antarctica with a capacity for 70, 75 days, for a very long time. And that was like the destination, the technical destination. And in Greenland, as the surface of the snow, of the ice is a little bit more flat and easier than in Antarctica, I estimated that the capacity would be to have as much as 3,000 kilos on board, and that could be potentially 8 people on board, and that the sled could be bigger, would be made up of 5 sleds. And even if this picture is only 4, because I don't have the drawing for the new prototype, but potentially could be 5, no? After that expedition, it was designed to make a really very major expedition in Antarctica that was planned for 2020, where we planned to do the first circumnavigation of Antarctic continent with the WindSled linking the scientific bases, but COVID came and this project collapsed, and it was really, we have to cancel this expedition for 2020. And the last step of the WindSled was the South Dome circumnavigation, Greenland South Dome circumnavigation in 2022. What we have made the full circumnavigation of Greenland, the circumnavigation of the Central Ice Cap, and here we make the circumnavigation of the South Dome, South Greenland Dome, carrying out some projects and trying to get more capacity on the sled. That was the technical goal of this expedition. That was the last expedition that has been taking place with the sled. No, these are some pictures from 2022 expedition. where in distance was not the biggest expedition we have done with the WindSled, but we made for us was a pretty shocking discovery that we really found the mountain in the middle of the glacier that in the maps was not, and it was not supposed to be there. And of course, the only explanation is that that the ice, of course, is decreasing not only in longitude but also in altitude. The amount of ice is decreasing, and this mountain has appeared in the last years, maybe in the last 10 years, 15 years. We don't know exactly, but it's a totally new mountain in the area. No? It was really quite shocking. No? WindSled project start to develop for Antarctica. The idea of the circumnavigation route was not abandoned. It was just transformed into a new project because the WindSled has been incorporated into the Spanish Antarctic program and as a research infrastructure for Antarctica. And then we planned to do this circumnavigation into two different steps. One, going to the South Pole, Vostok Station, and finishing in Concordia expedition that is programmed to take place this year in November 2024, actually. And it's not 100% confirmed, but we really hope it will take place. And then the idea is to make this big traverse, leave the equipment of the WindSled in the Italian base, French Italian base in Concordia, and then later, next year or 2 years later, make the return through the Chinese and Japanese station. No? Therefore, circumnavigating Antarctica with the WindSled for scientific research. And this road, once open this road, the idea is that, of course, it will continue being done regularly in Antarctica. But of course, we are here to talk not about Antarctica, just to talk about Greenland. All this introduction was just to put the perspective of the WindSled project and the 25 years work that has taken us to the moment what we are now, right now in March 2024. And I will start by the expedition that we are going to that is going to take place very shortly, actually in the month of May, June 2024, and which idea is to make a south-north traverse of Greenland. That's a little more exactly the road that will be taking place. And the goals of this expedition there are several goals. The biggest goal is test the biggest and heaviest WindSled ever tested. We plan to go at 8 people on board and have 3,000 kilos of equipment altogether to be moved by the kites, what is a challenge. We are not 100% sure that it will work. It might be too much, but it's a really putting a little to the breaking point. The sled, of course, if it's not capable, we will split into two WindSled. This is the versatility of the WindSled, and we will continue, but we really need to put to the test because, of course, for any future projects, it's very important to know what is the amount of weight that we can carry for scientific work, for the number of people, for everything. No, the sled will have 8 people, 3,000 kilos, as I say, and will be almost 20 meters long. It will be really a huge sled. It will be made up of 5 sleds, actually, and we'll have many other small new innovations, no? But really just to establish this max capacity. We'll be doing also 5 scientific projects, and we're trying to really start establishing long-term partnership with different scientific institutions. That's another part. But from the technical and part of the project, that will be the 12th expedition from the WindSled, and from my point of view, that should be the last experimental expedition of the WindSled, really, where we are really testing like new ground that we have never tried before. But up to now, in each expedition, we have of course pushed the limits of the capacity, not too much at a time, because organizing an Arctic expedition or an Antarctic expedition is a huge project, it's a huge undertaking, it's extremely costly, effort demanding, and is really complex to do so. And then we have been trying to move little by little, pushing the limits, but having always like a plan B if some of the innovation were not working. Here, our plan B is that we can split into 2 teams with a capacity a WindSled that we have already tested of capacity, no? And as we mentioned, of course, as I put in the first and only symposium of science and the WindSled to really test if this capacity is possible. We will not put the length of the traverses up to 3,000 up to 3,000 kilometers. Of course, we will be doing 1,400 kilometers because many things can happen and we are not sure. That's why we're doing the expedition to really test it, how it will work, and we will discover on the way how things are going with this new project. There are 5 projects working in this expedition. The 2 will be from Spain, actually. The micro air polar, it will be from Spain, and snow sample analysis. And of course, we'll be working also as different other times with Professor Majewski and the Climate Change Institute, University of Maine, and we'll be working for the first time with the Italian Institute of Polar Science, and with Italia there will be 2 Italian projects for the first time in the expedition. We'll be doing these 5 scientific projects, no? Atmospheric and snow and chemistry on board. The expedition will be made up of a team of 8 people. It will be really, I believe, it's a very good team that will take place. It's a full international team. It will be actually 3 people from Greenland, 4, because I consider myself half Spain, half Greenland. I have my heart divided in 2 parts, and it will be very good team. Will be taking place Jens Jacob Simonsen. He's a captain, explorer, and he has worked. He has been in the 2017 traverse with the Ice River expedition, and also has been working with polar logistics in the East Grip station over the Greenland ice cap. Aka Simonsen, also from South Greenland, from Qaqortoq. She's a certified Arctic guide, archaeologist, and is a UNESCO site manager from the Kujiata also in South Greenland. Also will be Bo Kleffel from Greenland, who is operation manager in Greenland Explorer. Marcus Tobia, that is Venezuela and Germany, is a renowned polar explorer and high mountain guide and outdoor education. It will be Felipe Gaona from Spain, financial advisor and mountain climber, and it's Roberto De Pieri from Italy, electrical engineer, renewable energy, mountain climbing, and Enrico Gianoli from Italy, also anthropologist and mountain guide. I think we are a very compact team. It will not be any scientists in this expedition. Finally, we want it, but it didn't fit in the organization of the expedition. But first, it will be first time that we are 8 people on board of the WindSled, and that will be a big challenge, no? Of course, that's the project for this year expedition. But the point is, where we are, what we can do. There are some facts to acknowledge that, of course, the very importance of consistent monitoring the changes happening in the Arctic, and very especially over the Greenland ice cap, and of course, especially in the most remote areas of the Greenland ice cap, that is North Greenland. The complexity, the same as Antarctica, and cost of collecting data from large extension of the surface of remote North ice cap is extremely difficult, costly, complex, all kind of words you can put there that they are all like that, no? And WindSled is an alternative source of data that is a very cost-effective and zero-emission vehicle, no? With those facts and the experience of 25-year expeditions, and of course the expedition that will take place this year, I'm in the moment to really present the North Greenland WindSled expedition. That's like the end goal of the WindSled project in Greenland, no? That's a Greenland-based international challenge. The core idea is to create yearly expedition monitoring the North Greenland ice cap with the WindSled and collecting scientific data, no? In one of the most inaccessible region. It will imply a geographical, scientific, technical, it's an environmental, and really an awareness challenge, no? That I will go through now. What will consist of, and why it will be really a special project. No? Of course, I will start by the geographical challenge. No? Uh, of course, the first part, this expedition this year, we are finishing in Upernavik area, and we will leave part of our equipment when we finish the expedition of 2024 in what there's a name we call Upernavik, or I try to call Upernavik WindSled Camp, the spot over the ice where we can store from one year to the other WindSled equipment. Of course, it will be too costly and too much energy to get the equipment down and to get the equipment up. It doesn't make any sense. And then we'll leave as much equipment as possible over the ice. And we will open, when we finish the expedition, a team of people will ski down to the coast to open the road from the WindSled Upernavik camp to the coastline, no? In order to see how is the road. That, of course, we don't know. We have no idea how is this road. With the idea of, in the future, starting this expedition with base in Upernavik, because Upernavik is a very special place. It has a helicopter stationed there, and is really like in the right location for the exploration of North Greenland. It's a really would be like a logistical hotspot in the Arctic, and there are not so many potentially logistical hotspots. But anyway, even if there is a helicopter, the idea of the WindSled project is not only being zero emission and sustainable on the way, also in the access to the ice, and really going as far back sustainable as possible. No? For that idea, the idea is to resupply really this for future expedition from the coastline as sustainable as possible. Now, the only sustainable way to get over the ice cap with all the cargo and all the equipment actually will be with dog sled. And of course, the idea is to test how to be able to resupply from the coast with the fisher and hunting people from there in the future with the dog sled to this camp. That will be the first geographical challenge of this yearly North Greenland WindSled expedition. Of course, the second part is after we have fulfilled this year expedition, making the south-north to Upernavik region, we want to make a traverse back and forth to the same spot, to this Upernavik WindSled camp, and make the most simple and most easy traverse to the east coast, where we would like also in the land farther into the ice, accessible, to make potentially another camp, we can call it like East Greenland WindSled camp, no? That also will be a logistically hot spot somehow for the WindSled project, no? And of course, after that will be the next goal. The second goal, of course, is to really increase the potential of the WindSled with this North Greenland circumnavigation to really see that this is working. Of course, it's very important. Of course, we can go north, and then how to come back from the East Greenland Nunatak camp, we can call cap to Upernavik. We don't know how long time it will take, but the next step will be really to make this second traverse and seeing the potential of the WindSled and the challenges that arise from there, with the goal to get to end game of the North Greenland WindSled expedition. That is a more sophisticated circumnavigation on North Greenland, having the capacity to reach land, because of course the vision of the WindSled is like a boat that from which you can make smaller expeditions with more light, even with skis or with electrical systems, light electrical system to the coast to make coastal exploration. And the 4 points with this pretty accessible will be the Gulf Land, Peary Land, and those two Nunatak area of East Greenland. And of course, this yearly expedition, the idea is every year the challenge will be established with time in advance, depending on the scientific goals and many other things. But having this huge area as an exploration area in a full zero emission sustainable way, and to create this logistical network totally unprecedented, I could say. That's really the goal of the North Greenland WindSled expeditions, no? And that's what we really plan to do. And of course, it's very important to have yearly data taken from scientific data, no? Not just scattered data of 1 year. And that will be the the goal and the geographical challenge. Of course, we have is the scientific challenge. The idea of the WindSled is to increase the scientific potential in the scientific capacity and the scientific potential of the WindSled in order to establish long-term cooperation with different institutions and try to get the most and the most relevant data from the field to this to the different institutional partnership that we are looking forward to establish. No? There are many fields of scientific research that can be worked from the WindSled, and there are a big amount of projects of many different fields. That, of course, that's a process to be establishing, testing, talking, discussing, and incorporating little by little. The project is not like from one year to the other. Every year is little increasing the capacity, and of course it will be increasing in the scientific potential of the WindSled. And of course, it's the technical challenge because of course it will never end. We want to increase the performance, the capability of the cleanest and most sustainable system of making polar exploration system, and of course the vision for the WindSled is to really be incorporated, be like this is like a ship, and we want to incorporate light electrical system for surface and air monitoring from the WindSled. That the WindSled is the platform, is the ship, the mothership, and from the mothership many other projects that are lighter and of course electrical. We are in the expedition in 2024. We want to absolutely increase our capacity of generating electricity. That's of course a side project of the WindSled because it's relevant that we are able to really just increase dramatically. We want to see how much we can, how much energy we are able to get from the sun and also from the wind, but in the order to be used by electrical systems. No? And that's a different project that is starting because that's really the vision. No? Of course, we know where we are. There is an awareness challenge because we know what is happening. We know what is happening in the world right now, and the importance really of Greenland, no? And really we are potentially trespassing the critical threshold of the Greenland ice sheet, and really we all know what is happening in the world about the climate crisis. We just have to see this year temperature absolutely broken everywhere. Temperature broken, and the climate is changing, and we are absolutely aware of the crisis we are living through, and we would like to have the North Greenland WindSled Expedition to be like an awareness, cooperating in creating this awareness in the world, but some awareness through the action. No, really the WindSled has a communication potential about the endangered Arctic, the Greenland situation, and really the climate crisis. And we'd like to work on that part in this North Greenland WindSled Expedition together with educational programs. For that, we can say that the timing couldn't be better because the broadband satellite communication that is really starting to happen in the Arctic just right now. It's very likely that we will have this broadband communication satellite by the very first time in this 24 expedition. Will create communication capacities completely new. And of course, there is the question who will really take part into this North Greenland WindSled Expedition. The idea, and also this year, is a little bit say of how that could work. The idea is that it will be, of course, the project is a Greenland-based project, and that will be a Greenland and international professional crew of 4 people. That's a little the vision, and then it will be other people that will be carefully selected because will be like an open platform could be professional scientists, will be scientific graduates, or could be selected individual for their capacity, or for many different reasons, for their potentiality for creating awareness of communication, personal values. I mean, we want to keep it broad, the potentiality of who can participate into this North Greenland WindSled expedition, and will take a lot of time. But yeah, and we will be working on that. But will be a really very selected team taking part, no? Because potentially will be a team of 8 people participating if this year expedition works successfully and everything, and they really, as we expect to be able to have 3,000 kilos. If we are able to get there, then it will be a team of 8 people, no? And then this North Greenland WindSled expedition is a little the same that the WindSled is a special concept that we are mixing Inuit philosophy with technology. That's why it make it so unique, because people is thinking Inuit way or technology like a separate word, but things that apparently are totally different here are put together, and really this put together things that apparently are not related. That's a little. This is the key of the success of the Inuit WindSled project, and this North Greenland WindSled expedition will be conceptually somehow similar from the point of view that will have a part of geography and adventure, but certainly will not be an adventure of geography traverses. It will have a lot of science on board, and that's the core of the project. But certainly it will not only be science. It will have a lot of technical development, because we want to be increasing this technical development, but it will not only be technical development, and it will be a lot of awareness, and has the idea of creating awareness and communication, but certainly it will not be only a project of creating awareness. It will be put together 4 different points of view for different fields into a yearly expedition that we expect to start for next year. Of course, for that, we need a tool, a platform with which to work, no? And that's what we're creating the WindSled Zero Polar Society that is in the process of being created. It's not yet created, but the idea is getting very defined in order to support concrete action and pioneer work to create progress for the decarbonization of the Arctic, and experimenting in all zero emissions and full sustainable polar exploration options. Of course, not only the WindSled, the Inuit WindSled options, can be many other options. That's just an idea, an approach of solving a problem, no? Electric, hydrogen, land, sea, and air, no? Of course, the vision, there is no other vision possible than the full decarbonization of the polar regions. That's as we are now in 2024. This is the only vision that we should have in mind when we are starting a project. And of course, that's not an easy task. It's extremely complex task. And then the last part of this WindSled Zero Polar Society that will be the core creator, or the core of the North Greenland WindSled expedition, is the South Greenland Zero Polar Lab concept. That, of course, I will leave that for another presentation in Hampton in another time. That's not the time. But of course, with base in Narsak, actually, I'm parting for Greenland like in 3 days, and I will be opening this road. We'll be going with a snow machine and trying to electrical system, because the idea is to create in South Greenland has the perfect condition for experimenting with all type of zero emission concepts and ideas, hydrogen, of all type of things. And then this is a parallel and complementary projects of the North Greenland WindSled expedition to create this hub or lab in South Greenland. But that's for another presentation. And thank you very much. I think that was enough. And if there is any question, I will be very happy to answer all kind of questions.
That was great, Ramon. Thank you so much. We have one question in the chat, and then because there's just a few people, well, when I would say a class size of people with us today, if you have questions that you'd like to ask Ramon, please just go to the reactions icon at the bottom of the screen and raise your hand, and then we can call on each other one by one. But the first question in the chat is from Donna, and she'd like to know, how can research and others get involved in your expeditions, either by going with you or having data from their own science projects collected during them?
Yeah, of course. And now we are trying to, there are two different things. One thing is who can participate in the project. And of course, we are open to receive application. Of course, we are, yeah, there are different people that can be, and we'll select, no? We're very, as I mentioned in the presentation, no? There's this different part, no? Can be basically professional scientists or scientific graduates, students. I mean, that will be like a priority field, but we're open. We don't want to have a full close of that, no? And then with the institution, we want of course, to communicate to different institutions in order that people knows the work and be creating little by little this network.
Kaya says, what moment from an expedition is the strongest memory for you?
Well, that's difficult to know. Of course, every expedition has a highlight, has a moment of a lot of tension and emotions. Of course, normally this moment happen when it's the closer from the moment of stress and uncertainty, put together with that something, everything changes and gets from dark to bright. When those two things get closer, that's normally always the best moment. But of course, it's a very difficult question to answer.
Just going through the chat. And this is a question that I always come up with too. Marlene Schramm would like to know how much you depend on the wind direction when traveling with the wind sled. And then there's a follow-up question to that asking about some statistics regarding the daily distance covered in some of the missions.
Yeah, okay. The angle that we can travel, of course, there is a big question. We can travel because there is wind in altitude, there is wind in surface, and we would say that we can go from the wind 60 degrees. It will be reasonable. We have managed to go up to 90 degrees from the wind, but that's like extremely difficult and extremely tough. I would say that up to 60 degrees. Of course, the winds in the polar regions, they are catabatical winds. They are very reasonably predictable wind. That's why we are able to plan the expeditions, no? Because of that, no? And yeah, second question, what was the second question?
That was the daily distance.
Yeah, the daily distance, of course, it's so variable. The fastest expedition we have done, it was the 2011 crossing of Antarctica, more than 100 kilometers per day average. That was difficult to repeat. I believe that was really very, very fast. Now we are going a little bit as we are increasing the weight on the sled. Of course, that's much that it creates all type of difficulties to increase the weight and the size of the sled, and the averages are far less. I will say that now we'll be having averages of 50 kilometers per day, I think, expecting.
Dugushan wants to know, what online instruments are you planning to take in your expeditions? And then yeah, another question about the maximum potential energy that you stored through the solar panels.
Yeah, of course. Online, now we are not fully confirmed if we are going to be able to have this year. I mean, we are 1 month of a start of expedition and not fully confirmed. And therefore, we don't have, for this year, big expectation, because that's something like totally new and totally last minute. Of course, if we are able to test this year and we are able to just to have internet access like we are having now, from there, we will see for next expedition what we can have on board, because potentially it opens a full new world. Now there is very little connections from the polar regions. It's very limited. It's very extremely narrow band, and you can really not send anything and about that, no? And referent to the energy, of course, we will have quite a big batteries. We are talking about we would like to, so we'll have like 800 watts and so the solar panels, and then we will try to work in 220 and to be able to to really recharge for 2-3 kilowatts and really, I mean, to get to the different level. That's the first time. We have never attempted that. We have been using the basic systems, and but it's critical for the WindSled to have the capacity to recharge this light electrical vehicle, or of course electrical machinery, and at another level, not just at a very simple level. And that's, we have not been working so much into that, but we are starting now really to work, and will be really the first time. And in the first expedition that I'm going to do, because I'm going to do now 2 expeditions. One will be 1 month into this South Greenland testing area, and then the second will be the crossing of Greenland from south to north. There we're going to be really testing the capacity of this solar panel, these batteries, and as is really the first time that we make a serious test. Of course, from there, next year we will increase the capacity once we really have been able to test, because of course that's a long process of essay and error.
Douglas, I had another question that was on my mind too. It's how do you store or dispose of waste?
Of course, we have plenty of space in the sled, and yeah, we keep everything. We keep all the not the human waste. Human waste, it goes over the ice, but all the rest we store all of it, and then we take down to civilization when we go back. In the winter, there is plenty of space. Actually, there is plenty of capacity for transporting of volume. There's no problem of volume. That's not a big problem.
And Donna has another question about how your expeditions impact the indigenous people, and or how does the research being done on the WindSled impact or benefit them?
Well, of course, the WindSled, the concept of the project is that it's a Greenlandic project. That's I could say the different point. And of course, we are over the ice. People is living in the coast. I mean, that's totally a full apart. Of course, there is there are several Greenlandic people taking part in the expedition, and of course, the concept is that in the future North Greenland expedition, the core team will be made up at least for half Greenlandic people, no, into the core team. That's when it's more established, no, and therefore, yeah, I think that only will have a beneficial impact in Greenland, and actually, Inuit WindSled is really, yeah, I think good value to the Greenlandic knowledge and to the traditional knowledge that normally is dismissed or taken apart, and is totally opposite, is really taking the value that it deserves.
Julie would like to know what type of sail you use and what happens if it rips.
Yeah, of course, we use a type of kite. That is a model is NASA. Is how it's called, this type of kite. We have been testing many different type of kite. That's a full world of which kite, and for many different reasons that will be, I believe, a little too long to explain. Yeah, we believe that's the best. And of course, one of the critical points, actually the weakest point of the full concept, are the kites, because this is very fragile, this is very light, and they have to transport 3,000 kilos. And of course, when you are thinking 3,000 kilos, you have to think that it could happen. The surface of the ice is not totally flat. Sometimes it's a little bit up, sometimes it's a little bit down. You have to imagine that the sled is in a little bit up in a place, maybe 7 degrees, it could happen, and maybe there is soft snow, very soft snow. And then you have to imagine a sled of 3,000 kilos upwards with heavy snow to start moving. I mean, the force that you have to be considering is just something unbelievable, no? And all that force comes from the very light kite, no? And this is by far weakest point. And of course, that in this expedition and that we are taking now, I'm not concerned about the sled. I'm concerned about if the kites are going to be able to take it really such amount. No, of course we carry 22 kites in the sled. I mean, we have a lot of backup kites. We have been along the years. In the beginning, we broke more kites. Now we broke less kites. It's always a possibility that the kites break, and we can of course show them on the way. We do it. We show them there. It's never the same when you have to show on the way. But of course, we have many spare kites that we are working with. Yeah, with 22 of them.
That's a lot better than fixing them.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
you might need them to fix them
Yeah.
anyway. Of course, fixing is just maybe you can fix and maybe you can do 80 kilometers. I mean, it's just for a very short time that it will work. Yeah, but of course if we see the weight is too much, we'll split. It means that they cannot take it this capacity, no?
Manuel would like to know if you could explain how you get weather forecasts from the ice caps.
Yeah, well, there are different ways to get the weather forecast. Of course, we have the in-reach communicator. We'll have communication with the outside. I mean, we are in contact. There is a contact person that will be following up, and they will be sending us the weather forecast. And we have also the in-reach system that of communication. It delivers some weather forecast. That weather forecast, as we have been working with the WindSled, we are very aware of the incredible improvements of the weather forecast from the first weather forecast from now. Now, very few times they are really not accurate. It's just absolutely unbelievable. When we started, okay, sometimes were accurate, many other times they were not accurate, but it's just absolutely amazing the how exactly they are getting. And then we'll be those two will be receiving from our support team, and then we will be checking in our device. Of course, if we have full communication, we could be seeing ourselves the weather through the multiple possibilities that there are online, no? And that will really change everything if we are able to have full broadband in the WindSled.
He has a follow-up question, just wondering how long the durations of the Greenland and Antarctica expeditions will be this year.
Of course, for Greenland, it's expected that the traverse over the ice, we are expecting 30 days, actually, that should be, is 1,400 kilometers, considering an average of 50 kilometers, that of course we have some days much more, 30, maybe 35 days, could take, I think is the maximum for Greenland. And then for Antarctica, we're calculating 70 days. It will be a much longer expedition. The distance will be much longer, will be almost 4,000 kilometers. That's a huge distance. And then we are considering 70 days. That will be up to 75.
I think we have time for one last question from SM. Will you be putting out a call for researchers or students who might be interested in joining the teams?
Yeah, that will be great. And we are now, of course, we would like to have potential application for 2025. And it will be time to really work with a lot of time and go through the applications and really be working with. It will be great.
And I know I said that was the last question, but I think I'll give Donna the executive privilege of having the last question, who would like to
She
know.
deserves it.
Yeah, she does. She would like to know something more about the human experience during the expeditions and what kind of diet you have or what kind of food you take and how do you stay warm and
well, of course,
over.
to participate in an expedition like that is it's a huge experience. It really. Of course, I am more or less used to this experience, but especially for somebody who is not into the really polar world, I would say it's a life-changing experience because that's really you are getting into a full different dimension of things, no? And that's it's hard to explain this what really mean at a personal level, no? Because you are really so disconnected. Maybe we are not any longer so disconnected. That will be the bad part of this new communication. It will be really a new Arctic if we have communication. We really have to control, but it's a huge experience. It's a huge personal experience, no? And of course, the food, we try to have food that you like, that you have to feel home. The WindSled, you have to see the WindSled as a home. I mean, not that you are in a very hostile place. Of course, for me, one of the first lessons about the Arctic, learned actually my experience in the expedition with people, is that you have to feel really at home on the ice. That's not a hostile place, and then we want to make the WindSled really from the food part and from all parts, that you are really home there. I mean, that you are not missing anything almost. Of course, that's not exactly like that, but to be as close as possible to that, no?
Thank you for that. There's a question about reaching out to you after the webinar, and I have a feeling Donna can put some links in the chat before we go.
Yeah, that will be very good. And actually, yeah, it will give some contact way that, of course, Donna can maybe contact Donna, and then through Donna get to our team, to Karin. She's working in the team with the potential new applications for 2025. Yeah.
Excellent. So we can, for those of you who know Hamptons Observatory, you can reach us right on our website. There are contact forms there, and we can get you the information you need. Ramon, thank you as always. This was a wonderful talk. I wish you the best of luck in your next expedition, and I hope to hear all about it when you come back.
Thank you very much. It was absolute pleasure, and it was I'm very happy to be for the second time, but will not be second without a third.
That's exactly right.
Certainly.
Definitely not the last. Thank you so much. Thank you all for joining us.
Okay.
I enjoyed it.
Thank you, and thank you, Donna, very much.